Hey everyone. Today's video is a viewer request. I had a viewer of my channel message me and ask if I could help them do something in Fusion. He sent me this photo of this shield that he wants to make in a curved shape. So what I mean by that is if you think of a sphere, the outer surface of the sphere is what he wanted the shape of this shield to be. So he didn't want this to just be a straight line like a crease and then a straight wing and a straight wing. He wanted it curved from top to bottom and curved from left to right. And so I'm going to show you how to do that today. So if we hop over into Fusion, I've already got the sketch, and how I got this far is I imported the picture he gave me. And to insert a photo, you go up to Insert, Canvas, and this will show up right here once you get it all set, and you can see your canvas. And then I drew a sketch on that same plane and just traced it. Now, I did kind of, I guess, make a mistake. I was trying to make this little inset here, and I accidentally went on the outside of it instead, but that doesn't really matter for what we're doing. Just once you get your shape of the shield you want, or really anything you want, then we're good to go. So, okay, so what we're gonna do is literally take this sketch profile and project it onto a sphere. Now you could do a sphere, you could do a cylinder, really you could do any shape you want. You could even draw your own, which maybe I'll show at the end if this video isn't getting too long. But so to start this, we are gonna create a sphere, and you can do this in two ways. And I'd like to show you both ways, but I think I can just do it with one. So you can either draw the sphere just right on this plane, or if the origin is selected, on the same plane as the shield, or you could do an offset construction plane and make the sphere behind it. Whichever you want to do, they both work exactly the same. So let's create a sphere, and we're going to just click on this plane or this surface, and then once you have the plane selected, you're going to select the starting or the center of the sphere. And keep in mind that however big you make your sphere will determine the curvature of the shield. So if your sphere is really, really small, this shield is going to have a very curved surface. And as you make this sphere larger, this curve gets less. So let's just do like 250, and we'll call that good. And so we have our sphere drawn. So now we have to project this shield to the surface of this sphere. And the easiest way to do that is to create a new sketch, and you can put this sketch on any plane you want. It doesn't matter. And once you're inside the sketch, you're going to go to Create, Project, Include, and then Project to Surface. So this little window pops up, and the first thing it is asking for is the faces that you want to project to, which is the sphere. And then it wants us to select the curves, which is basically our sketch. Now it's a little hard to see that sketch, so you can come up to bodies and just hide that sphere for now. And we're gonna hit, I don't want that one. We're going to just do this inside one. I actually didn't need to draw this outside surface. I was trying something new, but let's click on all of these lines here. And if you notice, well, nothing, you don't notice anything right now. What I meant to say is when you first open up this window, especially for the first time, this project type is most likely going to be on closest point. And look what it's doing. It's taking a line, it's basically taking this sketch and projecting it to the closest point along the sphere, which is this direction. Well, that doesn't give us what we want, so what we want to do is go to a long vector. And Now it's asking which direction we want to project this to. Well, we don't want to project it to the green axis because then it's just going to make these little lines, or the red will do the same. We want to do the blue, and the arrows kind of show you which way it's going. So now you can see that projected on both sides of the sphere. So we can hit OK. Now, the cool thing about a projection is that it maintains its shape. So if we go to the front view, these all line up perfectly. Where if you were to do, let's say, like if you were going to do a, let me get out of the sketch for a second. If you were going to create like an emboss or something, it would distort the shape a little bit, which may not be a big deal. So, okay. Let's get back into the sketch. We can turn that first sketch off, and we don't need both of these, so we can just select that one and hit delete. And now we're just left with this one. So let's finish sketch, and we're going to head into the surface tab, which is up here. Now, what we want to do is create surfaces that we can then thicken to create solid bodies. So the first tool we're going to use is the patch tool. And the patch tool basically wants you to select the boundary edges, and then it'll try to turn that into a surface. So if we go through here and select the boundary of the shield, it creates this surface. And I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see it creates that shield in the shape of the surface of that sphere. Now, we still want this little outer brim. I drew that into the sketch, which I didn't really need, but we want to make this right here as well. So this part, what I would do if you haven't saved yet, I would make sure you save your file, because this has a tendency to crash Fusion or cause errors, and you'd at least be saved up to this point. So the next tool we're going to use is something called ruled. And ruled, basically, the ruled tool basically takes edges and you can extrude surfaces from those edges. So if I click this edge, see what happens? So it's set the tangent, which means it's going to follow the line, the curve that's already there. But you can actually bend this how you want. There's tons of stuff you can do with this. You can change the size. So we're going to make this, let's say 2. And like I said, you could curve this straight forward if my computer doesn't crash. But we want the tangent. We want this to follow the curve. So I'm going to just hit 0. And let's maybe make this 3. This will just be up to you. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then we're going to hit OK. So now we have our shield shape. The next thing is thicken, and this might be worse on your computer than the last step, especially for some of these harder edges. This will be really easy, so I'm going to show you this first. So I'm going to hide this outer ring, or this outer lip we made, whatever you call it, and we're going to thicken this surface to make it a solid body. So you can see it set at 0.25, and it's at symmetric, which means it is going to thicken 0.25 millimeters in each direction. So this middle line is our surface. It's thickening 0.25 and 0.25, which for this case is fine. So let's just hit OK. And now you can see this change to a solid body. So this shield that we just created by thickening that surface is now a solid body, where if I hide that and turn these back on, these are just surfaces, which even though they're bodies, they're not true bodies. There's nothing there. This has a thickness of 0. It's just colored in so you can see what that surface looks like. So the next step is where I have most of my problems when I do this method, and that is trying to thicken this shape here. If you try to thicken this whole thing all at once, it's going to probably freeze on you, depending on how good a computer you have. You might get a bunch of errors, and so just be warned about that. So what you can do instead, so go back to thicken, is if chain selection is turned on, it's going to select the whole thing, which you may not want. So I'm going to shut that off, and I can just do section by section. And let's see if we can even do multiple ones at a time. Oh, it's not selecting me. It's not letting me select multiple ones. But I tell you what, I'm going to hit cancel. I'm just going to see if we can do the whole thing at once. Let's select the whole thing. And there's the computer giving me the circle of death. Let's see if it even does anything. I'm not going to speed this up. There you go. It gave me an error. So it doesn't like what I'm trying to do. So instead, I'm going to just hit cancel. Let's go back up to create, thicken, and this is tedious, and I'll probably just fast forward through this after I do one of them. But we're just going to do one piece at a time, basically. So if you remember, we did this middle section at 0.25 both directions, which gives us a thickness of 0.5. So I want this to be a little thicker, so I think I may even just do 1 on each direction. So let's click one part, and maybe we'll just do 0.75. I'm not quite sure how thick to make this. And there you go. So I'm going to hit OK. Now the annoying part of this is now you have to turn that body back visible. Do it again. Hit OK. Turn the body back visible. Do it again. So I'm going to speed this up from here until I am done. Okay, so I'm getting an error on this last piece, which is so weird because I did this video earlier the exact same way I'm showing you, and I got no error here, which shows you just kind of sometimes how inconsistent Fusion is. Like I said, I did it this way the exact same. I did not do a step different, and it worked totally fine. And now all of a sudden, it is not letting me thicken this. I get an error. So let's see if we can fix this. So we got everything but that little piece. So and we've got the middle hidden. So let's keep that middle hidden. Go back to the solid tab, and let's see if we can join these up. So I'm just selecting all these bodies with the combine tool here, and we're just going to hit combine. Okay. I might see if we can just loft this. So let's create a loft from here to here. And let's change this to tangent and tangent. Oh, I guess that can just be connected. And there we go. And hit OK. Okay. Now, hopefully when you're doing something like this, you don't run into these problems. But even if you do run into problems, there's always another way to kind of fix it. So now we can bring this shield, the middle shield in, and we can combine this. And we don't need the sphere or any of these. You could delete these if you want, but there's no need to. And there is your shield. Now, like I said, you could do this with any shape. If we go all the way on our timeline down here, back to the beginning, we did this on a sphere, right? You could do this on a cylinder if you just wanted the rounded, the curved shape to just go in one direction. Or you could create your own shape. So you could create a construction plane. Actually, we can just, since the origin is way back here, we could just do a sketch, and we could draw a line. Let's maybe go like 100. And then you could do a fit point spline. So you click up top, click below, and then when you hit escape to get out of that tool, you can take these little handles and, oops, cancel. And make a shape that you want. Let's say you want it to be more rounded, however you want to do it. Finish sketch. Sorry, my computer's really lagging. I think these thickening things really mess with the program. Once you have your shape, of course this is not high, this is probably going to be too small, but you can revolve this shape around the axis, hit OK, and then from this shape you could project your shield. Now of course I didn't draw this in the right position, but you get what I'm saying. You can project this onto any kind of shape you want to get the bend that you want. But for now, I think this is all I'm going to show you. In the thumbnail of the video, I put some different material in here. You can go up to design and go to render. And if you click this button right here, you can go into Fusion. They've got all of these Fusion appearances. You can go down to metal, and I think I have brass selected. They have bronze. They have all sorts of stuff. And I think the one I did in the middle was a knurled, and I just bring this over to this. And if you, it doesn't show up right here, but if you hit render, you'll start to see it. Now that's too big. So you can double click on this and take the scale down, hit done, hit render, and it'll start making it smaller. Or you could do it by body if you only wanted that knurled section to be on this part. Oops, I didn't keep these separate bodies. Let me go back. Let me just show you real quick. Let's delete where we combined the rim and the middle section. So now let's go back into render. So now if you get into materials, you could do like a brass mat around the outside in canvas render, and you kind of get that photo that I did for the thumbnail. And you have to let this go. So if I hit close here, you can see it's going to take all this time to render to final. You can move this to like excellent, or you can actually render. This is in canvas render, so it's doing it on the spot. You could render it here, so it doesn't just sit here and do this. It kind of renders it behind the scene. But there you go. There is your 3D shield. Actually, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. If you look at shields, they always have like a design on the front, right? And you could easily make a design too. You could either find a picture of a dragon or whatever. And I'll show you how to quickly do that. If you create a construction plane, I just want to get this in front of the shield. So I'm going to make this construction plane in front of the shield. Hit OK. Let's start sketch. I'm just going to create some text. And to create text, you got to drag a square out somewhat even. And I'm just going to write the shield. And I'll make this just a little smaller. And let's see, hit OK. Now can I move this a little bit? I can't. Let's go like -3. Hit enter. So now what you can do is emboss it. So if you were going to have a design that you could bring into Fusion as like an SVG file or something like that, you could put that design on a sketch right here. Go to create. Oops, let's get out of sketch first. Go to create, emboss. You would select your sketch. Then you would select your face. And then you can make it whatever depth you want and hit OK. And there you could have something on the face of your shield. All right, I hope that helps. I know that was kind of long-winded, and for the viewer that asked me how to do this, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know.